Hello everyone, and happy International Day for the consumption of quinoa. This presentation is going to be an overview of the quinoa market in the US. My name is Veronica Valverde, and I am a specialty sales manager at Arden Mills. I joined Arden Mills in 2020 as part of Andean Naturals acquisition. My experience prior to joining Arden Mills goes from co-founding and managing Circle Q, a quinoa trading company in Sacramento, California, to working in Peru for some of the leading producers and exporters of quinoa. I am from Peru, and I started working with quinoa back in 2012, just in time to experience the peak of the quinoa boom. We are going to present an overview of the quinoa market and quinoa consumption in the US. We included data of the US quinoa imports, countries of origin, and price evolution, and studies such as who are the consumers of quinoa and why do they buy it. We will also talk about how it's positioned in different market segments and the evolution as an ingredient. Also included the impact of COVID-19 on the demand, and finally, we'll talk about the opportunities and challenges that we will face moving forward. To start, I want to talk to you a little bit more about who we are. Arden Mills is a premier flour milling and ingredient company in the US whose vision is to be the trusted partner in nurturing its customers, consumers, and communities through innovative and nutrition grain-based solutions. Quinoa fits perfectly our vision, mission, and values. It is a crop within our portfolio of which we are highly motivated to work with, and our cross-functional teams are committed to its success by participating in all stages of the supply chain, from seed breeding to innovation and development and new products that become the favorites of our quinoa consumers. Arden Mills was born out of a long history of community mills coming together. We are an independent joint venture by combining Conagra Mills and Horizon Mills, and we have over 150 years of rich milling history. At Arden Mills, we're passionate about bringing people the goodness of plants and grains through innovative and unique ways. Arden Mills operations and services are supported by more than 35 flour mills, a specialty bakery, and a gluten-free facility. Deeply rooted in communities throughout North America, Arden Mills operations are located in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico, and the company is headquartered in Denver, Colorado. The Annex by Arden Mills is a dedicated team committed to exploring what's next in whole grains, pulses, mixes, custom multigrain blends, and finished breads. At Arden Mills, we're passionate about quinoa. In early 2020, Arden Mills acquired the Andean Natural brands along with its quinoa processing operations. Andean Naturals was founded in 2004 to improve the lives of smallholder organic farmers in Bolivia by providing them an export market to their quinoa. Today, Arden Mills, through the partnership of HISA Farmer Program, works closely with 132 organic family farms in Bolivia. These farmers seek to improve their living conditions and provide better education to their children. They also want to protect their natural environment and preserve their ancient culture. Through partnership with HISA, we help them achieve organic cultivation and access to markets that pay fair trade prices to their quinoa. Now that you know a little bit more about who we are, we're going to talk about the quinoa market in the US. The US is the main destination of global quinoa production, and this is because the US consumer is still in love with quinoa, not only for its flavor, versatility to be placed in any menu, nutritional value, and health benefits, but also because it fits most of the food trends, as we will see in more detail along this presentation. Quinoa has experienced remarkable growth over the past 2 decades it has been on the market, transforming from an exotic specialty ingredient to a familiar pantry staple. It has become a commonplace in home-cooked meals restaurant menus, and the ever-expanding range of prepared foods applications. This growth is projected to continue to reach 170,000 metric tons by 2025 with the help of domestic production. The initial growth was focused on quinoa as a health side dish. The future growth will focus on quinoa functional properties as an ingredient in foods such as snacks, beverages, and baked goods. Where does this quinoa come from? 91% of the quinoa that we find in the US is from Bolivia and Peru. In 2020, Bolivia supplied 50% of this seed, while Peru did 41%. Spain and Ecuador are growing as alternative suppliers to the US. US quinoa imports. Overall, quinoa imports are stable, and on average, the US imports 39,000 metric tons per year. We noticed that imports have been slower during the first half of this year and believe it's because there were large carryover stocks from 2020, when buyers tried to cover their demand in advance to avoid disruption in their supply chain, as COVID-19 largely impacted production and transportation. Now, let's see prices. The price of quinoa increased dramatically, nearly tripling between 2006 and 2013 due to the high demand in the United States and Europe. Prices started to drop in 2015, indicating a better balance of supply and demand, but there is nevertheless a strong market for quinoa even today. Currently, prices of raw material origin are at all-time low since we have data recorded. We mentioned earlier that the domestic production of quinoa will fuel the new stage of growth of the quinoa market. Arde Mills has an exclusive partnership with Colorado Quinoa, a US-based company that supports local farmers and promotes water conservation and soil health. Our Colorado Quinoa offers comparable taste, color, size, and cook volume to South American quinoa. It is an exceptional alternative and supplement to imported conventional white quinoa. Now, let's talk about the quinoa consumption in the US. Who are the buyers and what are they looking for, and how are we going to grow in the future? As a background on the US consumer, I want to present you the 6 key drivers of innovation that Arde Mills has identified. These 6 key drivers of innovation are your own health, increased desire for functional and immune-boosting foods, the wholesome story, rising demand for safety, trust, and transparency, eating for good, continued rise in plant-based food consumption and endorsement of sustainability, modern traditions, seeking nostalgia, twists on familiar for safe exploration, convenience and compromise, new definition of convenience for in-home optimization, and the last, dig in, increased joy seeking through food, desire to merge indulge and comfort with health. 3 things to know about quinoa in the US market. Number 1, quinoa is reaching mainstream status with consumers. We notice they are strong familiar with this product. It's impactful on purchase intent, and there is an overall affinity with the consumer. Number 2, quinoa aligns with multiple consumer dietary trends, such as plant protein, digestive health, and gluten-free. Number 3, quinoa has growing presence in key marketplace channels, CPG products as an ingredient in other products, food service, ready-to-eat foods, and frozen foods. Overall, quinoa has become an established food choice for the US consumer. Now let's talk about the consumer perception of quinoa. Quinoa has a very positive standing with consumers. 64% think quinoa is good for you. 43% are more likely to buy a product if quinoa is an ingredient on it. and it's the #1 favorite ancient grain. 2/3 of U.S. consumers are familiar with quinoa, and nearly half of U.S. consumers have tried quinoa before. Quinoa consumers present a profile that differs from U.S. consumers overall. Demographics is people between 25 and 54 years old with families that can afford this product and live in the western states and northeast states in the U.S. Quinoa consumers are enlightened eaters. They prefer non-GMO, organic, plant-based, gluten-free, and vegetarian products. Quinoa consumers find purpose in food beyond just eating. They care about the origin of the product, if it's a healthy product, and they are okay experience when it comes to new foods to eat and foods that brings them joy. Why does quinoa have a positive standing among other products? Quinoa is directly aligned with several of the dietary benefits most impactful on consumer food choices. Consumers are seeking protein overall, increasingly plant-sourced protein. Digestive health is a highly sought-after functional benefit and is now for higher-order purposes, immune system. Gluten-free eating has evolved to be a mainstream lifestyle choice. The results of a 2020 survey about plant-based protein eating or interest in trying in the US show that the majority of consumers already eat or would be interested in trying quinoa. 36% already eat quinoa, and 30% does not eat quinoa but is interested in trying. The global number of food and drinks products with quinoa as an ingredient by region shows an increase over the last 5 years in every region, including North America. Quinoa in all forms has a significant presence in the retail segment as an ingredient. More than 1,000 new products have launched quinoa as an ingredient in 2019 and 2020. Quinoa is appearing in new products across a range of food segments, from meal sides to bakery items to protein source in meat, fish, eggs, and milk alternatives. Consumers spend more than $300 million on grocery items that include quinoa during 2019 and 2020. Which products include quinoa in the retail segment? We see that now the majority goes to ready meal and side dishes, followed by bakery, cereals, pet food, baby toddlers, supplements, snacks, sports nutrition, beverage and drinks, meat, fish, eggs, alcoholic beverage, confectionery, dairy, soups, desserts, clinical nutrition, fruits and vegetables, and spreads. On the food service segment, we see a 14% increase since 2016. Although most often used in entries, the versatility of quinoa is allowing for its addition across the menu. We see how is this menu share. 72% goes to entries, 15% to side dishes, 7% to appetizers, 5% to add-on, 1% to kids menu, and 1% to desserts. We're going to talk briefly now about the COVID-19 impact on the US quinoa demand. 2 words to describe the impact of COVID-19 on the US quinoa demand is consumer empowerment. Consumers have endured for more than a year of unprecedented uncertainty where choices have become reactive and mandated. As the pandemic continued, consumers adapted and embraced new ways of navigating everyday life. The selections that consumers are making are largely on their terms, highly personalized to meet their specific needs and interests, most often against a backdrop of not being willing to compromise. The key is that the consumer knows that they are in charge of what they eat, what they get from the food they eat, where they source their food, and what their food choices mean beyond just the eating experience. COVID-19 impacted differently the retail and food service segments. Retail was up more than 10% with 346 increase on online grocery shopping. By the other hand, while restaurants were closed, the food service segment was down more than 25%. We are now seeing a rebound that restaurants are starting to open up. New consumer behaviors, like cooking at home and a challenging economy, may lead to a higher share of spending on food at home in 2021 than historical levels have shown. The food service rebound is already underway, and much of the recovery will come at groceries expense. Let's see now the opportunities and challenges of quinoa in the US market. How we will rise to the challenge. Quinoa can be seen as a new hero ingredient, providing health-focused consumers with a rich nutritional profile and a sweet and nutty taste sensation. Quinoa-based recipes should, however, be backed by a broader free-form platform for a stronger stand-up position on shelf. Considering quinoa versatility and incredible consumer appeal, it's no wonder that quinoa is showing up in more and more food and beverage products. From flour to seeds to flakes, you can think big about using this tiny seed as an ingredient in an endless variety of on-trend applications. Some of these applications are breakfast, plant-based meals, small bites, and modern traditions. Conclusions. At Arden Mills, we are big believers in the limitless potential of quinoa and are committed to providing solution-oriented resources and nutritious grain-based solutions to meet the market demand. The future is bright for quinoa. Changing consumption patterns and increase of consumer health awareness are resulting in higher demand of quinoa seeds. The opportunities lay in innovation with room to continue developing food applications. This might go at a slow pace for now, since securing the existing flow of goods is now the highest priority for buyers, and new projects must have to wait. Let's keep in touch. I'll be happy to answer any questions or discuss more details about the US market. Here is my contact information, and you can reach out to me through email, phone, or just connect me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you.